The stars in the Moran sector burned red, like dying embers, as Commander Hyenwoo Park stood on the bridge of his warship. The massive vessel, called Valor, cut through the darkness of space on what should have been a simple patrol mission. 3 months his fleet had been checking the outer edges of human territory, looking for threats that never came. Until today. "Sir, we're getting something strange on the emergency frequencies," called Lieutenant Mina Kim from her station. Her fingers danced across the glowing controls as she tried to clean up the signal. "It's not human. The patterns are all wrong." Moved closer to look at the data streaming across her screens. In 20 years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. The signal came from deep space, far beyond any human colony. It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat, but faster, more desperate. "Can you decode it?" he asked, working on it now. The computer's trying to find patterns. Mina paused, her face growing pale. "Sir, I think this might be what we've been training for our whole lives." The bridge fell silent, except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Every human in space knew this moment might come someday. First contact with aliens. But they had always imagined it would happen differently. Maybe a peaceful meeting, or perhaps an invasion. No one had expected a cry for help. The translation. Computer finally made sense of the alien words. A holographic image flickered to life above the main display. The creature that appeared looked like a walking tree, but its bark was cracked and burnt. Its voice shook with fear. "Please, Sky Protectors, if you can hear this message, we need your help. I am Elder Velthanus of the Lyran people. The Devourer Hive has found us. They eat our worlds, consume our children. We cannot fight them. Are peaceful growers, not warriors." The alien's image flickered as the signal weakened. "Our legends speak of great guardians who watch over the weak. We have searched the old star maps and found the frequency our ancestors left for calling you. Please, if you exist, come to the Keth system. Millions of our people flee in ships, but the Devourers follow. We will serve you forever if you save us." The message ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Captain Jin-Ho Lee was the first to speak. "Sir, long-range sensors confirm massive energy signatures in the Keth system. Whatever's happening there, it's big." Hyenwoo stared at the spot where the alien's image had been. The creature had called them Sky Protectors, ancient guardians from some old legend. But they were not mythical beings of peace and wisdom. Were humans, survivors from a world that had tried to kill them every day until they learned to kill it back. "Analysis," he asked a science officer. Lieutenant Biora Jung studied her readings. The linguistic patterns suggest a herbivorous species, probably plant-like based on their vocal structure. "They've never been in a real war, sir. Their entire civilization seems built around growing things, not destroying them, and this Devourer Hive. Unknown, but the energy readings suggest biomechanical entities. Large ones. Damned. If I had to guess, I'd say we're looking at a species that consumes other species for resources." Hyenwoo walked to the main viewing screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of peaceful aliens were dying, running from something they could not fight. They had sent their prayer into the void, hoping for salvation from mythical protectors. Instead, they had reached Earth's third fleet. They had reached humanity's most advanced warships, crewed by soldiers who had trained their entire lives for interstellar combat. They had reached the deadliest predators in known space. Sir Minna said quietly, "Should we forward this to Terra Command?" Hyenwoo considered the question. By military protocol, they should report back to Earth and wait for orders. First contact with aliens was supposed to go through diplomatic channels, not military ones. But those aliens would be dead long before diplomats could argue about proper procedures. "How long to reach the Keth system at maximum speed?" he asked. 18 hours, sir," replied the navigation officer. "And how long do you think those refugees have?" "Based on the decay patterns in their transmission, maybe 24 hours before their ships start failing." The choice was simple, even if it meant ending his career. Hyenwoo had not become a soldier to follow rules while innocent people died. He'd become a soldier to protect those who could not protect themselves. Signal the fleet, he ordered. All ships, prepare for combat jump. We're going to the Keth system. Sir, Captain Jinho said carefully. They think we're something we're not. They're expecting peaceful guardians, not a battle fleet. Hyanwu smiled grimly. Then they're about to learn that sometimes the best guardians are the ones who know how to fight. The Valor and her sister ships turned toward the distant star system where aliens were dying. They were not the sky protectors of legend, but they were what the universe had sent. And maybe Hyanwu thought that would be enough. Admiral So-Young Choi sat in the command center of Terra Station, Earth's largest military base in space. The walls were covered with screens showing ship movements across human territory. She had been reviewing supply reports when the priority transmission came in from the Valar battle group. The message started with Commander Hyanwu's face looking tired but determined. Admiral, we have a situation that requires immediate action. We've received what appears to be genuine alien contact. They're requesting evacuation assistance from something they call the Devourer Hive. So-Young leaned forward in her chair. In 30 years of military service, she had never expected to hear those words. The recording continued with the alien transmission, and she watched as the tree-like creature pleaded for help from mythical sky protectors. When the message ended, Young called for her senior staff. Within minutes, the command center filled. With Earth's top military minds, Colonel Taemin Park, head of alien studies, arrived first. Captain Yoon Han from strategic planning came next, followed by the rest of the emergency response team. Options. So-Young asked without wasting time. We could treat this as a training exercise, suggested Major Kyung-Soo Lee. The transmission could be fake, designed to test our responses. Colonel Taemin shook his head. I've run every analysis we have. The linguistic patterns are too complex to be artificial. The emotional stress markers in the alien's voice are genuine. This is real, Admiral. Captain Yoonji pulled up tactical displays showing the human fleet positions. The Valar battle group is our closest force to the Keth system. 12 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, and 2 carriers. It's enough firepower to crack a moon, but we don't know what they're facing. What do we know about these Devourers? Based on the alien's description, we're looking at a species that consumes planetary matter, biomechanical entities that grow by eating other forms of life. Think of them as space locusts, but intelligent and aggressive. Star charts on the main screen. The Keth system was far from human space, in a region they had never explored. These Laran aliens had been fighting for their lives while Earth had no idea they existed. Admiral, said Dr. Haewon Kim, the fleet's xenobiologist, there's something else we need to consider. These aliens think we're something called sky protectors. From what I can understand of their cultural references, they believe we're ancient guardians who protect peaceful species. But we're not, So-Young replied. No, we're the most advanced military force in known space. Our ships are designed for war, our soldiers trained for combat. To them, we probably look like another predator species. The command center fell quiet. As everyone considered the implications, Earth's first contact with aliens would come through their military, not their diplomats. The peaceful, plant-like Laran had reached out for gentle guidance and instead had contacted humanity's apex predators. What's our legal position? So-Young asked the fleet lawyer. Unknown. We have no treaties covering alien contact, and Earth Council hasn't established protocols for this situation. Technically, Commander Hyanwu is operating outside his authority. By responding to the alien distress call, So-Young looked at the faces around her. These were professionals who had spent their careers preparing for threats to humanity. Now, they faced a different challenge, using their weapons not to destroy, but to protect. Admiral Captain Youngji said quietly, "If we do nothing, millions of innocent beings will die. The Lyron transmission suggests they have children, families, entire civilizations running from something they can't fight. And if we intervene, we risk starting an interstellar war with unknown enemies," replied Major Kyung-Soo. "We also risk showing the galaxy that humanity is exactly what every species fears, aggressive predators who expand by conquest," added Dr. HAE-1, so Young stood and walked to the main viewing screen. Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and peaceful. Humanity had come so far from their early days of constant warfare. They had learned to work together, to build instead of destroy. But they had never forgotten how to fight when fighting was necessary. Colonel Taman, what would these sky protectors do in this situation? According to Lyron mythology, they would arrive peacefully, evacuate the threatened populations, and guide them to safety without violence. And what will we do? The colonel smiled grimly. We'll arrive in warships, fight the devourers with everything we have, and save as many aliens as possible through superior firepower. So Young made her decision. Signal Commander Haiyan Wu. Operation Shepherd is approved. All ships in sectors 7 through 9 are to support the rescue mission. We may not be the guardians these aliens expected, but we're the guardians they're going to get. Admiral Dr. Haywan said, "This changes everything. We're no longer alone in the universe, and our first act will be military intervention." "Then we better make sure it's the right kind of intervention," So Young replied. "Signal the fleet. Tell them they're not going to conquer, they're going to protect. There's a difference, and the galaxy is about to learn what it is." The command center erupted into activity as officers began coordinating humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. They were warriors from a death world, about to become heroes to species they had never met. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Keth system, and Commander Haiyan-Wu Park felt his stomach turn at what he saw. 3 of the system's 5 worlds looked like someone had taken giant bites out of them. Massive chunks of planetary surface were simply gone, leaving behind scars that glowed red in the starlight. "Dear ancestors," whispered Navigator Eugen's song from her station. What could do that to entire planets? The answer came in the form of movement between the wounded worlds. Thousands of creatures moved through space like a swarm of metal insects. Some were as small as fighters, others as large as space stations. They latched onto planetary surfaces and fed, growing bigger as they consumed rock, metal, and anything else they could find. "The Devourer Hive," said Captain Dong Hyen Kim, studying the tactical display. "They're not just attacking the planets, they're eating them." Beyond the feeding swarm, hundreds of alien ships fled in panic. The vessels looked like they were grown rather than built, all curves and organic shapes. They moved slowly, clearly not designed for speed or combat. Many showed damage from attacks, trailing atmosphere and debris. "Open communications," Haiyan-Wu ordered. "All Lyron vessels. This is Commander Haiyan-Wu Park of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress call and are here to help with evacuation." The response was immediate and not what they expected. "Deathbringers," came a terrified voice from the lead alien ship. "Your vessels burn with weapon signatures. You're warriors." Smell of killing metal. We called for sky protectors, not new destroyers. Lieutenant Commander Hyson Park, the fleet's specialist in alien behavior, quickly analyzed the situation from her console. "Sir, their sensory systems are completely different from ours. They're reading our electromagnetic signatures as threat displays. To them, our ships look like weapons even when we're just sitting here." On the main screen, the Lyran ships began scattering in all directions. Some headed deeper into the system, others tried to flee toward empty space. They were running from both the Hive and the humans, treating both as equal threats. "This is not going well," muttered Captain Jinho Lee. The situation got worse when the Hive noticed the new arrivals. Dozens of the biomechanical creatures turned away from their feeding and began moving toward the human fleet. They moved with insect-like coordination, but their size made them terrifying. The smallest ones were larger than human destroyers. "All ships, defensive positions," Hyun-Woo ordered. "Protect the civilian vessels first. Show them what human protection looks like." The first Hive attackers reached the human fleet within minutes. They were unlike anything in Earth's military. Databases, part machine, part living creature, all hunger. They had no obvious weapons, but their entire bodies seemed designed for tearing apart other ships. "Contact. Multiple bogies closing fast," called the weapons officer. "Fire at will. All ships engage." The space around the human fleet lit up with weapons fire. Plasma cannons, railguns, and missile tubes all opened up at once. The hive creatures were tough, but they had never faced weapons designed by a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of killing. The first wave of attackers died quickly, but more kept coming. The hive seemed to have endless numbers, and they showed no fear of death. They threw themselves at the human ships like living missiles. Meanwhile, the Lyron vessels watched in amazement. Elder Veltinus stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the human fleet through his ship's viewing ports. The Deathbringers fought with a coordination that seemed impossible. Their ships moved in perfect formation, while their weapons fired with deadly accuracy. "They protect the evacuation ships," said his aide Morcus. "The Metal Warriors place themselves between us and the Devourers." "But they are predators," Velthinus replied. "Look at their vessels. Every line speaks of violence. Every surface carries weapons. Yes, but they point those weapons away from us." On the human flagship, Lieutenant Mina Kim monitored all communications. "Sir, I'm picking up chatter from the alien ships." They're confused. "Some want to keep running. Others think we might actually be here to help. Can you translate their main frequency? Working on it now?" Mina's fingers flew over her controls. "Got it. Patching you through to their lead ship." Heian Wu cleared his throat and spoke into the communicator. "Elder Velthinus, this is Commander Heian Wu Park. We are not sky protectors from your legends. We are humans from a world called Earth. We received your distress call and came to help." There was a long pause before the alien replied. You are not the ancient guardians? We are soldiers, warriors, but we came here to protect you, not harm you. Your ships carry enough weapons to destroy worlds." "Yes," Heian Wu admitted, "but we're using those weapons to destroy the creatures that hunt you. Sometimes the best protection comes from those who know how to fight." Another wave of hive attackers approached, and the human fleet engaged them with ruthless efficiency. The alien elder watched as human fighters danced between his evacuation ships, shooting down any hive creature that came too close. "You fight for us," Velthinus said slowly. "The Deathbringers fight for us." "We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves," Heian Wu replied. "That's what Guardians do." For the first time since the hive had found his people, Elder Velthinus felt something like hope. Marine Captain Sang Wook-chen checked his weapon one last time as the boarding craft approached the massive hive bioship. Through the small window, he could see the enemy vessel up close. A nightmare of metal and flesh fused together, pulsing like a giant heart. Acid dripped from its hull and strange growths covered its surface like tumors. "First time fighting." "Aliens, Captain," Sergeant Ha-Yun, adjusting her powered armor settings. "First time for all of us," Sung-Wook replied. "But they bleed, so they can die." The boarding craft shook as it attached to the hive ship's hull. The cutting tools began their work, melting through the biometal surface. Within seconds, they had created an opening large enough for the assault team. "Go, go, go," Sang-Wook shouted. The Marines poured through the breach into a corridor that looked like the inside of a giant creature. The walls pulsed with a rhythm like breathing, and the air was thick with acid that would have killed most species instantly. But human armor was designed for the worst environments imaginable. Contact front, called Corporal Junesio Park, as shapes emerged from the living walls. The hive drones were perfect killing machines, part insect, part robot, all death. They had razor-sharp claws that could cut through steel, acid blood that dissolved most materials, and speed that would have overwhelmed any normal opponent. They moved like a swarm, coordinating their attacks with insect precision. They had never fought humans before. Hoon Squad moved through the corridor like a machine of their own. Each Marine knew exactly where the others were, what they were doing, and what they would do next. They had trained together for years, turning warfare into an art form. Acid-resistant, but kinetic weapons are effective, Ayun reported calmly as her rifle cut down 3 drones in rapid succession. Standard combat protocols work fine. The hive creatures were deadly, but they followed predictable patterns. They attacked in waves, using their numbers to overwhelm enemies. It was a tactic that worked well against peaceful species who had never learned to fight back. Humans were not peaceful species. Left flank, covering fire. Sang-Wook ordered, and his Marines responded instantly. They had grown up on a world where everything tried to kill them, from the weather to the wildlife to each other. Fighting was in their DNA. Meanwhile, in the space around the bioship, Commander Ji-hoon Moon led his fighter wing against Hive interceptors. The alien craft moved with insect-like precision, darting and weaving through space in patterns that should have been impossible to follow. But Ji-hoon had been flying combat missions since he was 18. He could read an enemy pilot's intentions before they made their move. When a Hive interceptor tried to flank him, he was already turning to meet it. When 3 more tried to surround him, he was already accelerating away. "Tango down," he reported. As his plasma cannons destroyed another enemy fighter, these things are fast, but they think like bugs. There's no creativity. The real difference became clear when the Hive interceptors tried to attack the Lyran evacuation ships. The alien fighters moved in perfect formation, each one following the same attack pattern. It was efficient, but predictable. Ji-hoon's wing scattered like leaves in the wind, each pilot taking a different approach. Some came in high, others low. Some attacked head-on, while others flanked from the sides. It was chaos, but it was controlled chaos, the kind only humans could manage. "Box flight, protect the transports," Ji-hoon ordered. "Eagle flight. With me. We're going hunting." Aboard the Lyran flagship, Elder Velthnus watched the battle through his ship's sensors. His people had been running from the Hive for months, watching world after world fall to the swarm. The Devourers seemed unstoppable, perfect predators that consumed everything in their path. Now, he watched as creatures from another death world fought them to a standstill. The human fighters pulled maneuvers that should have killed their pilots, spinning and diving at speeds that would liquefy most organic beings. Yet they flew with precision that seemed impossible. "How did they survive those accelerations?" asked his aide, Morcus. "They come from a heavy-gravity world," replied Science Officer Kaiaris, studying the human ships. "Their bodies are built to withstand forces that would crush us. What kills us barely slows them down. And their tactics, unpredictable. The Hive fights like a single organism, efficient, coordinated, but rigid. The humans fight like individual predators working together. Each one thinks differently, acts differently. The Hive cannot predict their moves because they don't follow patterns." On the bioship, Sang-wook's Marines had fought their way to the creature's heart, a massive chamber where the Hive processed the matter it consumed. Dozens of drones defended the space, but they were losing ground to the human assault. "This is it," Sang-wook said, raising his plasma rifle. "Take out the core." The explosion that followed tore the bioship apart from the inside. It was a massive creature died, its remaining drones went silent, their connection to the Hive mind severed. "Another one down," Haween reported. "How many more of these things are there?" "Doesn't matter," Sang-wook replied, watching the Lyran ships continue there. "Evacuation under human protection. We'll kill as many as it takes." Elder Velthanus felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Hope. These Deathbringers fought not for conquest, but for protection.
Ow.
They were exactly what his people needed. 3 weeks after the last Hive ship died in the fires of human plasma cannons, Admiral So-young Choi stood in the conference room of the newly built Terra station. The temporary structure floated in the safe Kepler system, far from the devastation of the Keth worlds. Through the large viewing windows, she could see Lyran agricultural ships tending to their orbital gardens while human destroyers patrolled the perimeter. The contrast was striking. On one side of the table sat the human delegation, military. Officers in crisp uniforms, their faces marked by years of training for war. On the other side were the Lyran coalition leaders, plant-like beings whose bark skin still showed scorch marks from their escape from the Hive. Elder Velthanus spoke. First, his translated words carrying deep emotion. "Admiral So-young, we must speak truth. When we sent our call into the void, we searched for the sky protectors of ancient legend, beings of peace and wisdom who would guide us gently to safety. And instead, you got us," So-young replied honestly. "Soldiers from a world that spent 10,000 years trying to kill us before we learned to kill it back." "Yes," said Elder Morthus from the Chiral Assembly, her photosynthetic patches glowing softly. "We expected shepherds. We received wolves." Captain J. Han, Co., now serving as the human diplomatic liaison, leaned forward. But we're not wolves hunting sheep. We're wolves protecting the flock. The Lyron leaders exchanged complex chemical signals that their translators couldn't fully interpret. Finally, Velthinus spoke again. When your ships first appeared, we thought death had found us again. Your vessels burned with weapon fire. Your warriors carried the scent of killing metal. Every instinct told us to flee. Yet you stayed, observed So Young. Because you placed yourselves between us and the Devourers. You used your terrible weapons not to destroy us, but to destroy those who would destroy us. A science officer, Clyrus, the youngest of the Lyran delegates, activated a holographic display. We have studied your species extensively over these past weeks. Your world, Earth, it is what we would call a death planet. High gravity, violent weather, predators everywhere. Most species would have gone extinct. Instead, we got stronger, said Colonel Taman Park. Every challenge made us adapt. Every threat made us smarter, faster, more dangerous. And yet, Clyrus continued, you chose to use that danger to protect others? This confuses us. In our experience, apex predators consume lesser species. They do not guard them. Commander Hyenwu, who had led the first rescue mission, spoke up. Maybe that's the difference between predators and guardians. Predators take what they want. Guardians give what others need. Elder Velthinus turned to face the viewing window, where a human medical ship was treating wounded Lyran refugees. Your healers tend our injured with the same hands that your warriors use to destroy our enemies. How is this possible? Because we choose what to do with our strength, So Young answered. Could have stayed home, safe in our own space. Could have taken your worlds for ourselves after driving off the hive. Instead, we're here talking about how to protect you and others like you. The room fell silent for several minutes. Finally, Morthus spoke in a voice filled with wonder. You are not the Sky Protectors of legend. You are something else entirely. You're protectors who earned your power through struggle, who chose mercy despite having the strength for conquest. Captain Jahin pulled up the Draft Alliance documents on his tablet. We're proposing a mutual defense pact. Humanity provides military protection for coalition worlds. In exchange, you share your agricultural and biotechnology advances. Your people are master gardeners. You can help us grow food on worlds we thought were barren. And if more threats appear, asked Kalras, then they'll face the same thing. The hive-faced Hyenwu said grimly, human warships crewed by soldiers who fight hardest when they're protecting someone else. Velthinus looked around the table at both species. We sent our prayer into the darkness, hoping for salvation. Instead, we found something better. Guardians who understand the cost of peace, because they have paid the price of war. 6 months later, Admiral So Young stood on the observation deck of the expanded Terra station, watching as ships from 12 different species moved through the system. The Human Lyran Defense Alliance had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Word had spread through the galaxy about the warriors who protected instead of conquered, and more peaceful species had come. Seeking the same protection, a young communications officer approached with the daily reports. Admiral, we have 3 more species requesting admission to the Alliance. The Velkrise pirates have been raiding their trade routes. The Mordani are being threatened by something called the Crystal Devourers. And the Kesathari just want protection while they explore a new star system. Ao Yang smiled as she watched a human carrier launch fighters for patrol duty, while Lyron transport ships carried supplies to the newest member worlds. They hadn't been the species the galaxy expected to find when the first distress call went out. They had been exactly the species the galaxy needed. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Let them know we have work to do. In the darkness between stars, other peaceful species would send their own prayers into the void, hoping for salvation. And when they did, it would reach the same frequency the Lyran had found months ago, Earth's military emergency channel. They would get exactly the guardians they needed. Even if they weren't the guardians they expected. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.